Welcome to another episode of One of Us Knows What They're Talking About, and the other one is you. I'm Lori Burch, your host. Join us as we discuss and unpack wills, trusts, estate planning, and probate law in a way that's actually informative, interesting, and, well, hopefully entertaining. Because if you don't have a will, the state of Texas has one for you. Let's dive in. So what are we talking about today?
Estate planning.
Great question.
Oh my gosh, really?
I know.
Top 5 reasons people don't have a estate plan that will work.
So top 5 reasons it's important. Top 5 reasons why people don't have an estate plan that will work. That last part's important.
That will work.
That will work. Because you want things to work, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that
absolutely.
not the point? Or is it just this feeling like if you were going to go skydiving and you were given a parachute that had a bunch of holes in it, would you be okay with having the parachute? Because at least you have a parachute.
No.
That's a no for me. Thank you.
Right. So let's dive in, shall we? Is that what I say in the intro?
Yeah, you say let's dive
Something like that. Let's dive in.
It's like it's skydiving.
Skydive. Oh. That's just how naturally good at this I am. So number one reason. Well, this isn't the number one reason, actually. We're going to do like a countdown. So the first one we're going to talk about is they don't think they have enough money for it to matter. So I think one of the biggest things is people, especially when you hear the expression estate planning, we've talked about this before. Like, Sarah, do you think that you have an estate? Do you need estate planning?
After working here, do you think that?
Before working here, because that's the general public.
Before working here, no. I would have thought never.
Right. Would you have been one of those people where you'd contact us and say, I need a will, but I don't need estate planning?
Probably.
What about you, Sam?
Yeah.
I just don't think I ever thought about it. If that makes sense. Like if you'd asked me, do I have an estate?
Something makes sense? Yes.
I know, what a shock. But if you'd asked me do you have an estate? I would have said I genuinely have no idea.
Oh, the brutal honesty of a Kiwi.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I've talked about this so many times, but I don't love the expression estate planning, even though it's the technical practice area, because it's very misleading. People think that you have to have a lot of money and stuff and all of that. And that's really not what it means. I mean, if you have a car, if you have a bank account, if you have a house, you have things that if something happened to you, nobody has automatic rights to oversee things for you or make decisions or inherit those. So it's a really big misunderstanding that people think that they need to have enough money for it to matter. And the big thing is, especially for us, because we deal with so many people who have young kids, and I could tell you something, and I speak from experience, if you have young kids, by default, you probably don't have a lot of money. Those two things are a causal relationship. Okay?
I heard they're expensive.
However, kids are little beings that you have been entrusted to take care of. And so even with this so-called estate planning or whatnot, you need to make sure, well, who's going to take care of them? You want the state to take care of them? You want them to be in foster care? Whatever little money you have, you want that just to be controlled at 18? I mean, again, they don't think that they have enough. But they do. I mean, even being able to handle debts, to tell the debt collectors to go away. We've dealt with things like that. So that's a very common reason that people really, really mess this up, and they don't have an estate plan at all, or they don't have one that will work. another one, and this one hits really close to home for me because it's just one that really grinds my gears. What's the origin of that expression, and is it racist?
Wow, we're just putting on the pod.
Diving right in.
Let's see.
I hope not. So people don't know what will happen, or they assume things that'll happen automatically. And Sarah, take note, we could probably do a whole podcast just on the misperception of things happen automatically. Well, won't my spouse be able to make medical decisions? Well, won't my parents be able, even though I'm 19, 20, won't they be able to step in and make decisions? Or I wrote on a piece of paper that my best friend could be the guardian of my child. Won't that work? Or probably the biggest thing that we deal with as a misperception in Texas is when married couples buy homes together, they just assume that the other will automatically get it. And we just don't have that thing in Texas. It's called joint tenancy with rights of survivorship, and we don't have that. So there's a lot of things where automatic is the last thing that'll happen. The government dictates a lot of things. And so, am I going to get help from you guys to do a little rapid fire of just a sampling of 10 things that the state will decide for you that don't actually happen automatically? Am I going to help from all three of you?
Oh, all three of us.
Yeah, you might as well
got
get in
this.
on the
Yeah.
fun. We haven't gotten to the Sam Sarah section yet.
Yeah.
Rapid fire here are just a sampling of a few decisions the state will make for you. Cynthia.
The court will determine the guardian of your children. Your family could end up in court fighting over the kids, or the kids could end up in foster care.
All right. The court will determine the trustee of your child's estate.
Your spouse may have to make a yearly report on how they are managing any money the state grants to your underage children.
The court will determine who inherits your estate.
The court will appoint an administrator for your estate.
Your court-appointed administrator may have to post a bond to guarantee that they are responsibly managing the money the state grants to your underage children.
Your family heirlooms may be divided up, 1/3 going to your spouse, 2/3 to your children. If the family cannot agree, the court can have the heirlooms sold and divide the proceeds. Man.
If your spouse remarries after your death, their new spouse may be entitled to an interest in the assets from your estate.
The new spouse will not be legally required to use those assets for your children, and they will not be required to leave any of those assets to your children.
In blended families with children, a new spouse may become partners with stepchildren, or possibly an ex-spouse in handling your estate. I am trying to avoid that as much as possible with my mom and my stepdad. Love him though. He's great. So is my mom.
Yeah. So again, another big reason an estate plan won't work is when you assume that things will just work out the way you want, and that's just a small sample size of what happens. All right. We've got 3 more to go since we're doing 5, and we're counting down because the last one is the big one. The next one is, this one hits hard. They think the cost to use a qualified law firm is too, air quote, expensive. We never hear that, right?
Never.
No.
Right. So I think I'm trying to think of situations where something is good enough, because that's something that we'll hear, like, oh, I just went online and did this, or we used our HR benefits that we have, or we're just doing that. It's just temporary, or I just hand wrote who could take care of my kids before we left on vacation. Like, just this idea of, or they try to find the least expensive law firm. Like, they're calling around and that's the only thing. Like, Sam, you never deal with that, right? You never deal with people calling and it's like they don't care at all. They just want the cheapest thing that's out there.
Yeah, never.
So is there a situation where the cheapest thing is better than nothing?
I'm
I mean, there's got to
seriously
be
sitting here like
something.
racking my brain, and I'm thinking, okay,
Like sometimes, like food, like hole in the wall
Yeah.
restaurants are sometimes better than
Okay.
like
Yeah,
you
okay.
know.
that could be an example.
Sometimes
But
they're super good.
honestly,
Mhm.
nothing else rings a bell.
Just
I
food.
mean, hold on. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, like whenever you're at the state fair and it's really, really hot, and so you
Mhm.
just need something. So like whenever they hand out those the free little things that you just fan yourself with, that's better than nothing, I guess.
Always from
I think
the hot
they're
tub
called
people.
fans.
Okay, they're just
Yeah,
fans.
hand fans.
Hand
yes.
fan. They're just not the traditional hand fan that folds
Yeah.
out. It's like a big popsicle stick with
Piece of
paper.
cardboard.
Yeah.
But I guess that's better than
Like I
nothing.
think if you're like dying of thirst and you get
Oh.
like just a little sip of water. Yeah.
That's
So
literally better than nothing.
yeah, so friends, it's the exact opposite in this case. I think in most cases, in many cases, like it's not better than nothing. It really is nothing, or in many cases, it's worse than nothing because you think you've got something and you don't. So, in the whole purpose of like trying to find the cheapest way to do this is what? To save money, right? And in our experience, do people end up saving money?
No.
No.
Mm.
They do not.
No.
They do not, sadly. And what happens is, you're going to spend the money anyway. So you might as well spend some now to save more later. Otherwise, just rewind a little bit and hear the rapid fire of the decisions that Texas is going to make for you. So people often think that it's too expensive. And I to do this right, and for us, we're in I'd say kind of the middle tier of
Yeah.
fees, certainly in the lower tier for the quality and time and expertise that we have. But if you're calling around, there will be firms that are at a higher price point, and there will be firms that are a lower price point. And we've done this on a previous podcast. It's also a resource that's on our website where we have a checklist of what to look for in a qualified law firm. Like, what do we mean by that? And guess what is not on that list? Which one's the cheapest? And the other thing is you might, I use this expression a lot that we're not $100 bill. Not everyone's going to like us. And so there are certain things that are deal breakers when you're looking for a qualified firm. And there are certain things that may fit you that other people don't care about. Like I think back to the one potential client we were talking about, and he went with a different firm. And I had inquired what were the reasonings, just so we know for ourselves. And he said that he found a firm where the attorney gave him his personal cell phone number and would be available 24/7. And I told him, if that is a criteria you are looking for, you made the right decision, sir, because that is not something we will do. So, and I was thinking, I think that about a lot of things. Actually, I think about sometimes when I use the GPS, and it's always trying to find like the fastest route. But maybe your goal isn't to get there the fastest. Maybe your goal is to have no unprotected left turns. That's probably my
Yes.
least favorite thing in the
Actually,
world.
yeah.
Honestly, same.
My stepdad will go out of his way to make sure that he does not have to turn left.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's so valid of him, honestly.
Absolutely. I'm a big proponent of that. Another thing is, and this is probably a little bit better of an example or more reasonable example, is I think about this sometimes driving home from the office, and especially with all the construction that's going on Coit, I'll take the route through Richardson on Waterview that turns into Independence at that point. And it takes me longer to get home. I mean, frankly, probably only a few minutes, but it's less construction. So there's a criteria for Lori that some people wouldn't care about. And it's also prettier, especially this time of year. They really have a lot of Christmas lights and decorations that are out. And so maybe you want to take a more scenic route. For example, I've never done this, but San Antonio, one of my favorite places to go, and I have driven from Dallas to San Antonio 5 trillion times. Apparently, going through Johnson City it takes about an hour or two longer than taking 35, but apparently it's a very pretty route. But when
Can
I've
we
wanted
avoid
to
Waco?
go, yeah, I think you do avoid Waco.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So my point is when you're making decisions, like there are certain things that might just be specific to you and your needs, and then certain things that are you should definitely have. And so some of the most critical ones we think, and it's never going to be cost, is one, making sure that a firm has a majority of their focus on estate planning, on wills, on trusts. If they don't do this regularly, then they really don't have enough experience to know what they're doing. Another piece is, do they also practice probate? Because if you don't see how courts, banks, hospitals interpret these documents, then you really have no busy drafting them. You might as well just be doing hypothetical exercises in law school at that point. And I know that I personally, you all know, Burch Law knows how painstakingly I have taken on the task of creating our templates and our language and the things that we use to put in there. And all of that has been developed and evolved through experiences that we have. I mean, the whole AKA thing that we do, that was not something that we would have done 10 years ago. But when you start seeing in probate court or even with title companies where they can't make the mental leap that Lori L. Burch is the same as Lori Louise Burch, then we know, because we've seen how these documents are interpreted, that we better put an AKA that, yes, in fact, Lori L. Burch is also known as Lori Louise Burch. That is the same person.
That's crazy.
Maybe I should do an AKA of Lori spelled Lori, since so many people think that's how it's spelled anyway. But yes, so I think that's super important. Again, there's a lot of other criteria we think are good to look for, but then there are other things that may be more specific to you. But the point is that the idea that you're not going to have an estate plan that works because you don't want to go to a law firm because you perceive them to be too expensive, it's cheap gets very expensive. Yeah. So trying to shortcut that, which leads me, it's a natural segue to the second to last reason people don't have an estate plan that works. And that is, they think DIY is better than nothing. This is what we were just talking about, right? And so, oh yeah, and Sarah gets really testy about this.
Yeah.
And so, being the time of year that it is, at least when this is being recorded, not necessarily when it's being listened to, but it is the holiday season. But this really applies anytime, but I think about it more because especially if you have kids, you're thinking about like buying them a toy or something. And can you imagine like getting something, or maybe you go the knockoff route, right? I won't mention like Shein or Temu or Wish, all not sponsors, where things they aren't exactly the same as the original, or even if it is the original, if it's defective, like you think you're getting the product, and then you wrap it up, and then here comes Christmas morning and they unwrap it and they're so excited and it's broken. It doesn't work. Well, imagine thinking that you're going and getting the same thing from one of these crappy online will sites or a state form, or these boxes that, these brilliant people who give general financial advice, who are not lawyers, put these little will kits together that you just answer some questions and it generates documents. imagine that being the same thing as like the newest and greatest toy. And instead of Christmas morning finding out it's broken, in this scenario, you're dead and your family's meeting with the probate attorney, and the probate attorney has to say, this is broken. Now, with Christmas morning, maybe you've got a gift receipt and you can go return it. And a broken toy may just be your kid crying, but you can make up for it. There's really no way to make up for it when you have a broken estate plan.
And you're dead.
And you're dead. Right? And you don't know until it's too late. I mean, that's what we discover. So I think one of the most common things we see with, what is the single biggest problem we see? And this one infuriates me, but what is the single biggest problem we see with the DIY wills?
They're not executed properly.
Yeah, they're not signed properly.
They're not signed,
which literally means they won't work. Yeah, it's crazy, because I think a lot of people in their heart of hearts think, that this probably isn't the best, but they do think it's better than nothing. And it never occurs to them how important, how critical that signing is. And I know this doesn't come up in every episode, but it probably comes up in every other episode. That's how much we talk about this. But it's also a testament to how often it happens and how big of a problem it is. And I'm puzzled by it. I really, really am. But I think it's just the legal documents, no matter how basic and simple they seem to us, are very foreign and scary to people who don't deal with them all the time. Mm-hmm. So while we think it's very simple to flip, I mean, even Sarah, because she's like the star witness of the office. So even though she's the only person at Burch Law that has nothing to do with client work, she witnesses so much that she probably feels pretty comfortable as a witness, knowing exactly where to flip and exactly when it says witness, like that doesn't throw her off. She's like, that's me. But the stuff that we review, I mean, it'll be left blank. It'll be signed by family members. It'll be signed by the notary, but then the notary block is blank. I can't wrap my head around it.
Every now and then, so anyway, whenever we get wills that are signed outside of the office, I will just, hey, Sarah, tell me what's wrong with this, just for our sheer amusement. And she usually gets it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she's learned a lot. So
come on, people.
Sarah, good job. Proud of you.
Yeah, and that is something that we take pretty seriously, because while our preference is to have people come into our office for us to oversee that process, we do have legitimate reasons that people have to do it off-site. And we give very good instructions, and then we follow up with them. And I think pretty much almost every time they follow through and they send us copies of their signed documents, so that we can, before it's too late, so that's the point, right? We can make sure that it was done correctly. And Sam's the one that really manages this. And I think, Sam, you said before that it's like 50-50 whether they got it correct or not with our guidance.
Yeah.
So 50% of the time for people who are signing things off-site, even with our instructions and guidance, still mess something up. So not my favorite reason, because I'd love to tell you that it's, our vast legal knowledge and the way we've expertly drafted certain language. And it is all those things. But it really is just getting it signed. But what I was going to say, the other thing that I see with the online stuff is people exclude their spouses, because going back to what we were talking about earlier about this automatic, you just make these assumptions that things just go automatically to your spouse. So when it's asking you questions, if you die, who do you want things to go to? You're not thinking, I have to actually say my spouse. And you'll skip to like your kids or your sister or what have you. And we've had those instances where somebody's will says, okay, I'm married, but if I die, everything goes to my kids. And then, of course, those are the ones that got signed correctly. So we have to use it.
That's another thing people don't understand. If there is something that is a valid will legally, we can't just say, no, we'll do something else. We have to use it.
Yeah. Or you can wait 4 years when it's no longer
I mean, yeah, you
valid.
can do that too, but then
But,
it's a little bit
you wanna
more
wait 4 years to be
dicey.
able to, like, settle things. Uh, yes. So, anyway, those are all really top reasons that people have an estate plan that will not work. But the number one reason, I don't think it's money, I don't think it's time, I don't think it's any of these things. The number one reason is flat out procrastination. And
Woo!
in fact, Sarah, we don't even use this enough, but we have round to it's, little circle discs that say to it, and it's a round to it to remind
She has
people
them
to
in
get
her
around
drawer.
to it. And okay, Sarah says, hold on. And I'm going to, but I'm going to keep talking. So I don't know if that really is holding on. Uh, but the biggest thing is that we fight against there, for those who are watching this, there is a round to it. And then conveniently, our phone number and email on the back. The biggest thing we fight against is just the sense of urgency. And I get that people don't want to talk about it. I get that it's busy. You're busy. I get that it's overwhelming. I also would put my schedule up against anybody else's. And I'd like to see if you can make a case for it being that much busier or hectic. Like, you make time and you spend money on the things that you prioritize. And I realize this is not some fancy vacation. I realize that it's not the coolest, newest appliances that make your kitchen pop. This personally, because we have some pretty nice new appliances that we got. I get it. We get it. But it's kind of one of those things that you just need to have as a baseline plan. And that's why quite often I'll use the example of having insurance. Like, insurance, what is snooze fest? Who wants to think about that? But it's one of those things. And I would love to see either the tax code give incentives or the government give some sort of incentives for having an estate plan the way that they do with having like car and homeowners insurance. Like, you have to have those things, or there's a lot of penalties or issues with it. And if anything, insurance you're paying for every single year, and you may never have a claim. An estate plan, if you do it once, you may only have to update that, maybe never, but maybe 2 or 3 times your entire life. And one of the biggest difference between an estate plan and an insurance policy is you may never have an insurance claim. But I think we established that your number is going to be up at some point. It's just the reality. And, being the time of year that it is, but again, whenever you're listening to this, it's always the right time. But we are about to get to people who are making New Year's resolutions or starting the year fresh. And we know that this is something that's on people's list. And I think one of the most common things we see with people who walk out of our office after signing their will or trust or powers of attorney is relief. Is they feel accomplished, they feel secure, they feel empowered that they did the right thing. And it's a good feeling. It has value to it. And so we try to help incentivize people as to why now. And I don't care whether it's January, February, March, April, fill in the blanks. It is always the right time to get this done. Oh, you think you might move next year? Now is the right time to get this done. Oh, you think you might be going through a divorce? Now is the right time to get this done. Oh, you think you might have more kids? Now is the right time to get this done. I mean, you can always update or change or tweak this, but you never know what tomorrow will hold. And whatever it's going to take for you to get this done, get it done. And it doesn't have to be that overwhelming. In fact, we're talking about paying for value with a lot of quality law firms like ourselves. Part of what you're paying for is for us to simplify and streamline it. You don't have to come with all your account information and bank information and all your paperwork and all this and all of that. Sam, when someone's calling and they say, I need to get a will done, what kind of stuff do they have to provide us for the very first meeting?
Like for the discovery meeting?
Sure.
Or for like just themselves, really. I mean, we ask them
their name,
yeah, like
their phone number.
Getting there, like we'll ask like contact information, like what prompted them to reach out, which is usually procrastination, what they're looking for in a law firm, stuff like that. But I mean, mainly themselves.
You mean they don't have to put together all their financial accounts and all their usernames and passwords and all? No.
Nope, none of that.
About how many steps? This is a really good test. We might have to edit this out because I might get infuriated. What are our steps, Sam, from start to finish? Like, and keep in mind, like, we're trying to demonstrate the efficiency and the streamlined process that firms like ours can guide people with. So don't get into nuts and bolts. Like we send drafts, then we send a signal, and we did like just big. What are the major milestones?
So you call us. We have our initial call. We schedule you for a discovery meeting. And then if you want to hire us, then you can, or you have a meeting with the attorney and then hire us. Or if you hire us at the discovery meeting, you have a meeting with the attorney afterwards. After that, you'll get your drafts if they look good, or if you want to update them, et cetera, and then you get in for a signing. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, it really can be that easy.
Yeah.
Easy. Okay, so yes, perfect, Sam. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Gold stars all around. But those are really the top 5 or 5 of the most common reasons we see people that don't have an estate plan that will work, particularly that last one, just procrastination. Just get it done, people. Just have it done. You're going to feel really good about yourselves. High fives for adulting. So before we wrap up, I do think I really don't know, and I haven't looked closely at what they've planned for us. So I begrudgingly am just going to turn this over because I think Sam and Sarah have prepared top 5 reasons for things. Go ahead, take it over.
Okay, so we have a couple of lists. The first one is top 5 reasons your estate plan doesn't work. The first one is your child shreds it up to make reptile bidding.
Yeah. This one is purely hypothetical, but you ran out of toilet paper and you just had no other choice.
Wow.
Wow. Your kid decided to decorate since it is the holiday season, and they made some pretty snowflakes out of them and then just throw away the rest because they don't need them.
Mm-hmm. You needed a snack and you had no chips left.
You hate the font Times New Roman and threw them into a pit of fire.
I'm really glad that you didn't say you hate small caps.
No, never.
Because who would hate small caps?
Right.
So, hey, Sarah, quick question just before we get to the gifts, real quick.
Yeah.
So you're saying that somebody took their estate planning documents, cut them into tortilla chip sized pieces and just like ate them, or just used it
like
as a
fried
vehicle?
them up, you know.
Oh,
put them in the air.
Like,
yeah, you had.
Is that better than nothing?
Air fryer.
You know,
maybe if you like put them in some oil first, and then
you mean make them more flammable than they already are?
Yeah,
and then put them in the air fryer so they just go ablaze.
Yeah.
I'm going to be real with you guys. I don't think this is your best work.
No,
man.
What's your gift thing?
We struggled. It shows.
Okay. So moving on, we now have, since it's the holiday season, we have a list of the top 5 gifts to give for Christmas or whatever holiday.
I made the mistake of reading these. Okay.
Number 1,
We've
this is
talked
Sam's
about
idea,
this.
but it is a potato pal, which is a potato with your face on it.
You can order it online and like send it to somebody, like a glitter
Yeah.
bomb.
I like it.
Potato
Yeah.
pal. Okay.
Thumbs up.
That's the actual name for it. A whole rotisserie chicken.
Oh,
I would love
another
that.
thumbs up for
I
me.
would love that.
Yeah, right?
Also, this potato pal, as seen on Shark Tank, no sponsor. Okay.
Oh, Shark
Or
Tank?
Cuban, if you want to sponsor us.
That's what it says, as seen on Shark Tank.
Wow.
Yeah, you are on fire now, and you're not slowing down with this third one because I am totally on board with this. Go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 3, a full suit of medieval armor.
Okay.
So I want to I want to interrupt you here because
Yeah.
several years ago, someone told me, like, "Oh, hey, Lori, look, they're auctioning off one of Elvis's jumpsuits," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I need to get that." And then they're like, "What would you do with it?" And I'm like, "Wear it." Right. But then I'm like, wait, is it early 70s jumpsuit? Because I couldn't fit into those. Or is it more like mid to late 70s jumpsuit? Because those would be a lot roomier.
But Lori, you could possibly devalue it. Think of the patina.
I would wear it.
Okay, fine.
All right, number 4.
Okay. Number 4, if they have a birthday before Christmas, so like say 2 weeks before Christmas, you give them one shoe as their birthday present and then give them the second shoe at Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Do they know?
No.
You just get one shoe?
Yeah, they just get one shoe.
Okay.
And you
What if they have a birthday 1 month before Christmas? Because that would be me.
I think that's like the limit is like a month.
I have a question now.
Yeah.
My mother's birthday is on the 22nd. Those of you who know my mother, how would this go over? If
Not
I gave
wow,
her
but I
one
think it's
shoe,
hilarious.
and then
You would
a
have
few days
3
later-
days of hell hearing about how inconsiderate you are, how you don't realize that she has 2 feet.
Shout out to my stepdad. He's a saint.
You've never noticed that she
Despite
has
his little
2
quirks,
feet.
he puts up with my mother, and we love him.
And I mean, I guess at least you thought of me, so I should be happy that you at least got me something.
I can't understand if it's like you're using your mom's voice. It's the same mom, but still, like
we have the same mother.
We do have the same mother. Okay,
different
you may continue.
ethnicities, though, right, Sam?
Very different.
Yeah.
One likes nachos and one likes potato salad.
Actually, my mom does like potato salad.
Potato salad smash.
I mean,
with raisins.
Oh, never mind.
No, I'm just kidding. My mom doesn't. But I see that meme a lot where people make fun of white people for putting raisins and stuff. But I'm like, I find that very funny. I will say that I can't think of anything we've ever put raisins in. But I also don't think I'm the type of white people they're referring to.
Oh,
good segue. What's the last?
All right. And finally, get your family the great, long-lasting, fantastic, legacy-lasting gift of estate planning by Burch Law, PLLC.
Only if you're
That's excellent, Sarah.
Nice disclaimer, Sam.
Thank you.
Did you use ChatGPT to come up with the great, long-lasting, fantastic, legacy-lasting gift?
It was out of my brain.
Did you know you put lasting twice?
No, that's why it's out of my brain. No.
I thought that was on purpose. Whenever I saw long lasting,
I thought it was on purpose.
Okay, if we thought it was on purpose, yeah, it was on purpose. Yeah.
Okay, well,
yeah.
The great, long-lasting, fantastic, legacy-lasting gift of estate planning. Sarah, please save that. We've got to use that. Okay, let's get a clip of everybody. Just start with the great. Okay, so Sarah, your turn.
The great, long-lasting, fantastic, legacy-lasting gift of estate planning.
Sam.
Okay. The great, long-lasting, fantastic, legacy-lasting gift of estate planning.
Actually, that was really good. You made it through.
That was good.
All right,
I'm
Cynthia.
shocked
It's
I
like
did.
stabilization hole. all
That
over
was really
again.
hard.
Okay. The great, long-lasting, fantastic, legacy-lasting gift of estate planning.
I love it more every time I hear it. And we're going to cut off this podcast. And then, Sarah, I need you to go to everybody in the office and get a quick recording of them for me saying the great, long lasting, fantastic, legacy lasting gift of estate planning. Okay. So we're going to end this now so that you
Okay.
can go do this for me.
Oh
Okay.
my
All right, I'll come with you.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. That's a wrap. Thanks for listening. And just to cover all our bases about what you just heard, I'm sorry and you're welcome. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And tell your friends about us. We do webinars and live events. The best way to stay up to date is to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Links are in the show notes. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover, maybe you have a question you'd like us to answer, or maybe you just want to say hi, hit the link in the show notes or go to burch-law.com/podcast and fill out the contact form.
Much better.
Yeah, I thought that had a lot of energy.